Having a business funding company is not what you think. It's not easy like these gurus are telling you. In today's video, I'm gonna tell you the reality of having a business funding company, or if you're just somebody that wants to get your business funding, so you know the reality, because it's a lot of stuff out here on social media that's going around. So I just wanna just tell y'all the reality as someone that's been doing it since 2021, right? So that's a reason why you would wanna listen to me. I've been getting people funded since 2021. I made mistakes back then. I've learned over time. And if you have a business funding company, you're definitely going to want to watch a video. So number one, it's not easy. I'm just going to say that as far as the umbrella overall theme of the whole video. Business funding is not necessarily easy. What do I mean by that? I mean that you're going to get a lot of clients that are coming in and they don't necessarily qualify right away, right? I know you see online, gurus are talking about 50 to 250K, 0% interest. It's possible, but a lot of times it's over exaggerated. A lot of times you're seeing the highlights of clients, and there's nothing wrong with that, because if that's what happened, that's what happened. Like, you'll see us post, you've seen me, maybe if you watch my videos, how I funded this client $275,000, I made $27,500 in a day. Every client's not gonna be like that, right? So I just wanna come here so that y'all can have realistic expectations when it comes to it. So day in the life for us as a business funding / credit company, a lot of these people that are booking calls, because business funding is such a sexy term, everybody wants money, everyone don't qualify, all right? We might get someone that books a call, maybe they have 670 or something, maybe they got one or two couple negative items, you don't qualify, So a lot of times what it is you gotta look at it as a numbers game, right? And one thing too, that I want y'all to really take into consideration, you don't want to look at it like, how could I make sure that I'm getting successful? You want to look at it like, how much effort do I have to put in to where failure is impossible, right? Don't look at it like, okay, how much work do I have to put in to, get that desired result? Because if you're doing something with like 10 potential clients, imagine if it's 100, right? So look at it like, let me put in as much effort as possible so that I can, there's nothing with a guarantee, but so that I can make failure nearly impossible, right? So you wanna just look at it like that as well. So one of the realities of business funding is I just had to come to terms with the fact that it is a numbers game. A lot of people are gonna apply, they might not necessarily qualify right away. A lot of people, they have it misconstrued. And sometimes it's not even just them sometimes it's just them not knowing, because a lot of people get so obsessed and tied to the credit score. But if you've been following me, if you know anything about credit, your credit score doesn't matter. It's more about the data points, what I'm saying? So hopefully that y'all can keep that in mind as well. So that's something that, I've had to just learn and just understand with the reality of having this as a business. And one thing too, with the reality I want y'all to understand is, this is something on the positive side, but we were making money within our business with credit repair by itself, but business funding is really what allowed us to get to the next level. So when I talk about the reality of business funding, personal funding, whatever funding, if you're watching this and you're a credit repair business owner, if you're tired of, dealing with those cheap credit repair clients, having those headaches, chasing people for payments, stuff like that, I would definitely encourage you to consider pivoting over to shifting your focus towards business funding, because we were making money in our business, like I said, as far as just focusing on credit repair, but it was when we tended to focus more on the business funding as like the primary service, that's when it was it just went to another level, what I'm saying? And you can scale better with less clients when you're just focusing on the business funding. Because you got to think about it, when you're getting a 10% success fee, let's say you get someone $50,000, which is not hard to do from one bank if you got a bank relationship manager like at Chase Bank, right? So, or if you even just stack, credit card stack. But let's say you get someone $50,000, you got a $5,000 payout. How many credit repair clients is it gonna take you to, make that $5,000? The average credit repair person is probably charging only like $500 for credit repair. So do the math. If you got to do 10 clients, if you charge $1,000, on the high ticket side, you still got to deal with 5 clients. That's 5 potential headaches. These people harassing you. You just sent out letters. When is my letters due? Just extra stuff that you deal with. So you just got to look at it, the reality, the good reality, if you're a credit repair business owner, you're looking for like that shift as we go into 2025, you got to look at it like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm dealing with these cheap clients, I'm dealing with this. You might not even be dealing with cheap clients, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table when you don't focus on the business funding, right? So I guess pros and cons. So a pro is the fact that it has helped us scale our business effectively. When we talk about things like, if you've seen my video, like I said, making $27,500 in a day, like you're not gonna make $30,000 just from one credit repair client, unless like it's a super high profile client and you have a bunch of deliverables on top of it. But at the end of the day, y'all get what I'm saying. Like the margins are going to be higher, right? It's high margins, high payouts, and it's technically working less, dealing with less headaches that credit repair comes with, right? Transparency, we do both. And that brings me to my next point. One of the realities that I've had to learn about business funding as well, when you're doing business funding, it depends on the person, I'll say. But what I was going to say is that when you're doing business funding, you don't really get away from credit repair. So it's like you might as well do the business funding anyways. Because think about it, when you're doing these applications, even if the person has a perfect credit profile, you still got to remove those hard inquiries. Can you outsource it and not have to deal with it? Yeah, that's true. But we just keep it all in-house. And when I'm telling you the fact that a lot of people are going to come to you and they don't necessarily qualify, whether they have a skinny profile or they have some negatives that they don't know about, what is going to help that credit repair, right? So you could outsource it or you could do it yourself. So we still have everything in-house. The reality is that I've just gotten my business to the point that I'm not dealing with the credit repair department. You know, I have my sales reps over there, I have my dispute department. They handle everything. Obviously, my personal brand with all the videos we posted, referrals and stuff like that, that's constantly in the flow. So they're knowing that, it's my company, but I don't deal with that side of the business. I'm in the funding department. I create content for y'all, things like that. So just understand that too. That's one of the realities of business funding that I had to learn about. And one thing too, I'll say, if you're someone, you don't have no credit repair business, you don't have no business funding business, you have a perfect opportunity right now because you could hop into business funding and start making money. But one reality, again, it's business. It's not just going to be sweet like that unless you already kind of have a personal brand. And one reality I'll say too, I can work less now versus what it was back then. What do I mean by that? I've established a personal brand. I've established a reputation as someone that understands these consumer laws, someone that's getting people funding. We're on a mission to help fund $1 billion for small business owners. So people in my industry, people around me, clients and everything, they know me as that person that's basically understanding these consumer laws, understanding the business funding and all that. So I have leeway versus what it was in like 2021, 2022 when I was working on the business. So I say that to say, if you're just getting started, if you don't already have like an authority in the space, it can take time, right? But it's good payouts. One thing I'll say too, the reality of business funding, this is very, very helpful. So for a while when I first started, I wasn't working with bank relationship managers. So you've probably seen terms of BRMs online. Maybe you've seen me talk about it. And the reality is a BRM is going to make your situation just a lot better. And one of the banks that's lending out a lot, which I've spoke about many times, is Chase Bank. So if you don't understand how the BRM situation works, the bank relationship manager is someone that works directly with the underwriter at the bank. You working with the BRM is basically having a referral, right? Think about it like if you're talking to a girl or something. Or if you're a girl watching this, if you're talking to a guy, I guess, I don't know. But typically, like if a guy trying to talk to a girl, if you got a homegirl that's gonna co-sign for you, be like talk you up and everything, chances are you're gonna have a better end versus like if you just go in cold, you don't got no referral, no nothing. Think about it, if you're not attracted to nobody, think about it like a job, right? Just think about it like a referral. When someone gives you an alley-oop, it's always gonna be easier, right? So the reality is working with the BRM has taken our business funding company from good to great. So you could fill out the stuff online, applications and all that, but at the end of the day, if you want to maximize your business funding, It's going to be better when you work with the team. The team meaning work with a good BRM. I'll be real. I've been through many BRMs. Not every BRM has been good, but I've basically figured out and established a good framework in terms of how to establish a good relationship with a BRM. I teach my students that. I'll have links in the description if you want to attend a free class where I'll go over more of that. But having a good BRM, having a good relationship with a BRM is what allowed us to go from good to great in terms of approvals, right? Because obviously we're operating off of a 10% contingency or success fee. So when you get a person funded more money, you're making more money, right? And that leads to more referrals, all that, right? Because we've seen people where they went and got a $10,000 Chase approval. This is literally factual information. They went and got a $10,000 Chase approval. They went through our BRM at Chase. Now they got a $75,000 limit. Now they got a $50,000 limit, things like that. That's possible through a BRM. Is it possible without a BRM? I can only speak on my situation. We haven't done that without a BRM. All those 50,000 and up has been through bank relationship managers. That's just me being transparent. But that's not to say you can't get high limits or anything, but it's just going to be easier when you have someone that works in the bank, right? So if you're looking at starting a funding company, if you have a funding company right now and you're just like, I'm dealing with all these low limits and all that, you might want to focus on establishing relationships with BRMs, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. How you start is how you finish. If you don't start, you're never going to finish, right? So if you don't start something new, you're never going to get to the finish line. And one thing you got to realize too is it's one of those things where you're just going to stay in the same situation if you don't open your mindset to trying new things, right? One concept I want y'all to think of is the book Who Not How. I don't know if y'all have read it, but I encourage you to go at least read a summary of it. But it basically just talks about, in order to be successful, finding the right missing pieces. So when we talk about who, not how, we're looking for who's going to help us, not how we're going to get that desired result. If you're a business funding company right now, you're looking like, I'm only getting 5, 10K limits. Don't look at how you're going to get it achieved. Look at who you need. You need that BRM at Chase Bank, at Citizens Bank, Bank of America, everywhere, every bank that you want to establish a relationship with. PNC is more relationship based, but yeah, I would prioritize Chase, Citizens, BOA, those type of people. So that's the reality too. Just the reality, like we scaled even more when we established good relationships with BRMs. I'm not going to say it was just straightforward like that, but it might take time. So just keep that in mind too as you're going about your process, because I don't want y'all to just think like the way you go and establish a relationship with a BRM is just going to be just like that in one day, right? It may take time. You may get lucky, who knows? Maybe you get blessed. To be honest, I got blessed as far as a Chase situation. I feel like that was divine, but some of the other relationships I have, it took some time, to actually establish it. Not everyone's going to be a good fit for what you're doing. So keep that in mind. Click the link in the description, like I said, if you want more information as far as running your own funding company. I'll walk you through how to establish, good bank relationship manager, stuff like that. But yeah, that's one of the realities. I had to learn about business funding, and I hope that you take that into consideration as well. Like, you can definitely start as far as doing what you need to do, filling out the applications yourself, but I definitely recommend at the same time you're working on establishing a relationship with a bank relationship manager, because that'll make your whole life that much easier. Look at yourself as a business, right? I'm not looking at it like, I have to do every single thing. I got people that do the credit repair, right? I'm working with people for the funding, working with attorneys, for the litigation, that kind of thing. I can't do everything in my business, or else I'm just going to be going crazy, so keep that in mind. That's one thing I had to learn as far as running a funding company as well, and just business funding in general. Even if you don't want to run it as a business, I think this is helpful insight for you as well, just to know like the reality as you're going for that business funding. Because if you're working with a funding company, you kind of know the expectations. Like, okay, if they're working with the BRM, your approvals might be better. But the reality too, sometimes the algorithm is just weird, and you might have an amazing profile. Maybe you don't get what you wanted, right? So that's why one of the realities is you always want to call the reconsideration line, even if you get approved. What's going to happen if you don't call them? You're going to have the same limit regardless, so you might as well take a chance, right? Like I said, how you start is how you finish. If you don't start to actually try to increase that limit, then you're just going to finish at the same type of limit. So you might as well just shoot that shot. You feel me? So that's one of the things I had to learn when it comes to business funding, as well as far as the reality. One thing I'll say too, one of the realities of business funding, I think it's more, even though a lot of people, like I've said, like over dramatize just how it is online and everything. I definitely think there's more pros than cons. There's more reasons to do it versus not doing it. And one thing I'll say, let me just preface this. I would never recommend anybody do this, right? Because I recommend that you do have money and use your own money, right? But technically, you want to get business funding, like for yourself personally, because you know the business funding, like the business credit cards, doesn't report to your personal unless like you default. But you could technically live your life off of your business funding. I wouldn't recommend that to nobody because that's very risky. But us as business owners, we understand that there's seasons. Let's say some emergency happens within your family, you gotta, look out for them, that kind of thing. Business funding is so beautiful because if you got that $50,000 Chase business credit card at 0% interest for 12 months, you could put them expenses on there, maybe your rent or whatever you gotta do while you figure things out, right? So it could technically be a safety net, but that's very, very risky. I'm just speaking about the reality of what is possible. And I've seen some people, speak about doing this because, life happens, I get it. But I always recommend don't use more than what you actually have, to your hands or whatever. But yeah, that's just been one of the realities too, just understanding the importance of business funding and just understanding that us as business funding companies or credit repair companies, we're dealing with a very high income, high valuable skill, right? Because everybody needs money. All these business owners need money. They need money to scale, they need money to grow, they need money for all that, right? And one of the realities of business funding, if you're a good business funding company, is you pretty much know the sequences, you know how the credit profile structure, you have these connections that the average business owner does not have. These 6, 7, 8-figure earners, they don't have that. They just want to run their business, right? So they're hearing from you, 50 to 250K and 0% interest. Maybe you can get them that, maybe you can't, but the reality, if you're a good business funding company, you know more and have more connections than them, and that's why you're so valuable, right? So if you're not tapped into it, if you don't have it as like a side hustle or company or anything, then I definitely recommend that you tap into it. And one reality too, kind of going back to what I said, that you have more reasons to do it than not do it, is it's something you could technically do as a side hustle. To be honest, you don't got to put too much work into it. When you think about it, it's like, okay, somebody comes to you, they want to have business funding, you want to look at all of their credit reports. I recommend looking at the FICO, so the annualcreditreport.com. You can look at Credit Karma and all that BS, but I recommend the annualcreditreport.com one. So you take a look at that. Someone on your team take a look at that. Make sure that they qualify. Okay, cool. They got the 700 plus, no negatives. They got a couple credit cards that are older than 6 months. Utilization rate is good. Okay, cool. Now let's look at, the LLC is good. It's in good standing. Okay, what is this? What's the nature of their business? Okay, their NAICS code is going to be business consulting, that kind of thing. So that doesn't take too long. And then at that point, it's just you as an expert figuring out your sequence for them. Okay, are we going to go for Experian only, TransUnion, Equifax? Are we going to go for current relationships? Are we going to go for bank relationships? That kind of thing. So it don't take long. It's just one of those things that you can technically do as a side hustle, but it just has so much of an upside to it. But I don't want y'all to just come on here and think like you just gonna come out the gate, everything is just super perfect, because the banks are getting stingier every single day, right? So you got to realize that as well. Rules are always changing and things like that. So that's why it's important to start sooner than later. And I mean, if you're watching this before 2025, I definitely would recommend that. If you're considering it, you don't really have much to lose, so it's like, especially if you work in a 9 to 5 that you don't love, you working like a scamming ass 9 to 5. I used to work a scamming ass 9 to 5, man, as a chemical engineer. If you didn't know, I was making good money, but I just wanted my freedom. That's one of the beautiful things about it too. Like, I'm literally here, you know, and I can just record whenever while people are at their 9 to 5 or whatever. I go to the gym whenever I want. I typically like going early just to knock it out the way and get my day started. And just like, it just gives you a lot of freedom. You know, that's just one of the realities of it as well. But I guess besides the pros, because I don't want to sound too biased, the pros, besides the pros, like it has, you know, it's helped me change my life. It's helped me retire my 9 to 5. It's helped me help my mom retire. It's helped me pay off her car. You know, just do these amazing things that the average person would want to do. I gotta be real. There's a lot of upside to it, but I want to give y'all the reality too. Like, business doesn't just like, especially if you don't have a personal brand, it doesn't just like operate like that, right? So it may be like that. If you're already a credit repair business owner, you've gotten a lot of results, and it's possible it may, you know, just flourish for you like that. But it's no greater feeling than you just got your person funded, you know, 50K approval, 40K approval, whatever approval, and then, you know, you send that invoice and you receive it, right? It's no greater feeling than that, because we're living in this new age now, especially with, you know, the social media, AI, all that, where people are making money different ways. So you don't have to go to that scamming ass 9 to 5 no more, right? I'm not telling you to leave your 9 to 5. Don't leave your 9 to 5 until you doing like triple, quadruple of what you're doing at your job, right? If you make, let's say if you make $5,000 a month at your job, don't leave your job till you're making at least 20K a month consistently. That would be my recommendation. You gotta have that safety net, you know? I'm saying I didn't leave till I was already like lapping my job. But I say that to say, like, you have more reasons to tap in than not do it. If you're just a business owner and you're just looking for to get your own funding, I would personally recommend, if you want to maximize your funding, work with a funding company. But if you're just reliant, you just need quick money and you don't care about like getting high limits, you can technically do it yourself. I don't want to come on here and say you can't do it yourself, but the reality is, like, it goes back to the fact of people pay to get their hair cut, right? I pay to go get a lineup. I can learn how to cut my hair and all that, but at the end of the day, like, I'm a busy business owner, right? I'm a boss. I got so many things I'm doing. Like, I'm gonna just pay the expert. So that's how I look at it as business funding, right? Because some people are like, oh, 10%. Well, I can just go get it myself. You can, but are you gonna have the relationships as strong that I've had for years? Or like, you know? So you just gotta look at it like that. And one reality too, in order to just fast track your process, you just gotta pay a mentor, bro. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not saying that I gotta be your mentor, but I would say make sure you do pay a mentor. And reality is, like, you could YouTube University. You could watch all the videos on my channel, but it's just a different level of access and transformation that you're gonna get when you actually just pay, you know? Like, let me give you a scenario. Let's say you watch all my YouTube videos. I got like damn near 3,000 YouTube videos. You watch all the videos, you get all the information overload. That's cool, right? Now what happens is you're taking action on some of the information, you know, you're doing what you need to do. But what happens when somebody watches a couple of my videos, but then they pay to get around me? Okay, now they get 50-50 partnership when we go get their client $50,000 from Chase. They made $2,500. You didn't make nothing because you just information overload and taking action on free information, right? So I just encourage y'all to just get in that mindset to pay and get around the people that you're watching, right? It doesn't have to be me. I just gave y'all a simple scenario. And if you look at the case studies on my YouTube channel, you see that I have people on there that have paid me. That's why they get those phenomenal results. You see, like a Brian Winston. I did the video of him, how he funded his client $75,000 on one Chase card, right? So he made $7,500 in a day from the connection, right? Because he paid to get around me. So if he didn't do all that, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have ever gotten anybody from Chase funded, but it's just a different level when you make that investment in yourself, right? If you look at someone like Khaled, he left his 9 to 5 after, you know, paying for mentorship and got around me. And then just look at everyone in the playlist, right? You see all those people doing amazing things. It's because they decided to invest in themselves. So I like to just say that, and I say to just close out the video. The biggest thing is just starting, because if you don't start, you can't finish, right? So with that being said, Keep watching my videos. Y'all have a blessed one.